of a Middle East war are growing after the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. The Israeli assassination of Hezbollah's military chief in Beirut has triggered vows of vengeance from Iran and the Axis of Resistance, which is a proclaimed network of Iran-sponsored organizations and militias across Middle East that's specifically aimed at expanding Iranian influence and resisting Western presence. Iran-backed groups from Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq and Syria have already been drawn into a nearly 10-month war between Israel and Palestinian militant group Hamas in Gaza. But following the killing of Ismail Haniyeh and Fort Shukr, Iran has now threatened the harshest punishment for Israel, which it says was responsible for assassinating the Hamas leader. Though Israel hasn't commented on the strike which killed Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned Israelis that challenging days lie ahead as fears of a wider conflict in the Middle East are soon growing. This war in Gaza between Israel and Hamas has dramatically raised temperatures in the Middle East. Popular anger has been rising. Egypt and Jordan fear the expulsion of Palestinians into their territories. Non-state actors in Iran-led Axis of Resistance are also carrying out attacks in response in support of Hamas and the Palestinian cause more broadly. But Haniyeh's death has now led to a dangerous escalation and is bound to have serious implications for the region and its fragile security arrangement, with Iran now threatening revenge for Haniyeh's killing.
Allahu Akbar.
Iran has vowed to respond with power and decisiveness to the killing of Hamas's top political leader Haniyeh, which it blames squarely on Israel. Haniyeh died in an explosion in Tehran last week, raising fears of a major retaliatory attack and the outbreak of a wider war pitting Israel and the United States against Iran and the allied armed groups across the Middle East. It has now been almost a week since both Haniyeh and Shukr were killed, but no major attack on Israel has been conducted yet, with diplomats scurrying around the region in an effort to stave off any major escalation. Less than 24 hours before Haniyeh's assassination, Israel killed Fort Shukr, who was a founding member of Hezbollah's armed wing, and at least 5 civilians in Beirut's southern suburbs. Israel blamed Shukr for an attack in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights, which had killed 12 young children and some other people. Hezbollah has denied any responsibility for that attack. So what could be the possible scenarios in the wake of these recent killings? According to analysts, Iran's forthcoming response is imminent but would likely be measured. While Haniyeh's assassination on Iranian soil is a major insult to the Iranian government, experts do believe that it doesn't really change Iran's desire to avoid a wider regional war with Israel and its main supporter, the United States. While Iran's top leadership has promised the harshest revenge, their continuing diplomatic engagement with intermediaries has reassured analysts that there is very little appetite for a wider war. Iran, therefore, seems to be in a bit of a quandary and is under compulsion to take action. But it doesn't appear to be interested in escalating the crisis further. If it doesn't do anything, the country will be in danger of losing respect and prestige among its supporters. And if it does take action, tensions will escalate and spiral out of control. Meanwhile, for Israel, beyond Iran, it has to consider the response by Iran's allies, particularly for the assassination of Fort Shukr. According to Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, Israel has quote-unquote crossed the red lines and a response is inevitable. The question then is whether Iran's response will include coordination with its Axis of Resistance allies, particularly Hezbollah and Yemen's Houthis, or will each group act on its own and at a time of their choosing. Imad Salameh, who's a political scientist at the Lebanese American University, has said Hezbollah and Iran would likely be in close contact about their response, though any attack would be strategic and try to avoid throwing more fuel on fire. But Haniyeh's absence from the political scene has also been a huge turning point in the ongoing war between Hamas and the Israeli occupation government. It carries with it serious repercussions after 10 months of the war in Gaza, which has already killed around 40,000 Palestinians, mainly women and children. The regional parties mediating in the Palestinian-Israeli issue, notably Egypt and Qatar, will also face a heavier burden with Haniyeh no longer around. Because he was, according to reports, the possessor of some very important information of the ongoing negotiation process regarding the exchange of prisoners and a ceasefire in Gaza. Egypt is still trying its best to stay in the middle. It has issued an official statement through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs condemning the Israeli escalation and warning of the consequences of an assassination policy violating the sovereignty of other countries and fueling conflict in the region. Now, this statement, however, makes no reference to the person who was assassinated, and neither did they offer condolences to the Palestinian people for the loss of Haniyeh. Interestingly, the late Hamas leader had also a very deep appreciation of Egypt's role, repeatedly praising the official position of rejecting the displacement of Palestinians from Gaza to Sinai. He also avoided criticism of any political leadership in Egypt, which means that Cairo may have to start assessing its political and strategic losses after his assassination. Ismail Haniyeh's death has triggered global outrage. Many view it as a deliberate attempt by Israel to torpedo the peace process. The people of Gaza and Israeli hostages are the immediate victims here, because any breakthrough or any hopes of a ceasefire now seems unlikely. As the head of the group's Politburo based in the capital Doha, Haniyeh was a key figure in talks mediated by Egypt, Qatar and the United States, aimed at a lasting ceasefire or hostage and prisoner release deal. For Israel, after dealing a blow to Hezbollah in Beirut and killing the Hamas leader in Iran, also sends an emphatic, chilling message to all these militant groups and their Iranian backers, which is Israel can and will come after you wherever you are. Now, this message sparks fear of a long, widening war and expecting the unexpected.